meeting?
Okay. You find out early. The t-shirt. Everybody. Really?
No, that one's too small.
Okay, with it being 6 p.m., I would like to call to order this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Board, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the revised 2020-2021 school calendar as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Dr. Hoven.
Sure, thank you. The recommendation we brought in front of you tonight has to do with some work that's still going to need to be done before the start of school. So when we asked families to identify if they were selecting the in-person option or the virtual option, we ended up with 25% of our families choosing the virtual option. And whether it had been less than that or more than that, what that meant was we were going to have to realign schedules, master schedules, which also includes teaching assignments. Some of our teachers who would have been in-person teachers will now be virtual. Some other teachers, as a result, may end up teaching a different section of something than what they had been planning to teach when they left for the summer. So we know that as we approach the start of school, there's going to still be a lot of work to do for our teachers to get ready. We know that our kids deserve the same high levels of success that they're used to, and we want to give our teachers time to be able to prepare for that. So the recommendation in front of you is to move the start of school back 5 days. Under this recommendation, we would still ask our staff to report at their originally scheduled time to provide those extra days as work days. So in effect, this recommendation does reduce the student attendance days on the calendar by 5 days. We do have enough hours in our calendar for the year that still covers the minimum required by DESE. And so that's the recommendation in front of you. There are some other impacts to the schedule as well, so I'll turn it over to Lisa to talk specifically about the calendar.
Thanks, Dr. Hoban. So by moving those 5 days, we did do some adjustments to the semesters to make sure that they would stay as equal as possible. You know, every time we have a calendar committee, keeping the semesters and the quarters as equal as possible is important. And then, so we did that. We did make some adjustments to the end of the first semester. We did have a teacher meeting workday that was the first Monday back after Christmas break. And after having some conversation with FHEA and knowing that it's possible that we'll have some staffing changes that will be needed for second semester. If a virtual teacher now needs to come back and be in person, they'll need a day to wrap their heads around that, maybe set up a classroom, things of that nature. So we did move that meeting workday so that it falls at the end of first semester. So that'll be a change for our families. They were expecting to not have school on January 4th. Now students will come that day, and we'll have that Friday after Martin Luther King, that week of Martin Luther King's holiday, will be the day that's off so that our teachers can adjust for second semester. We showed on the calendar those 5 days for teachers that were taking away the student contact days. We showed them as work days in the calendar that's being presented to you. There will be a better plan for those days. Dr. Buckman is working through some of those plans right now so that there is some opportunity to provide some training, whether that's to the Canvas or some of the other things that need to be done. There might be some meeting time that will be needed to have with administrators. So we'll work through a specific plan of how that time will be used. But right now it is just showed as work days so that we could bring the calendar forward to you. Our semesters will be broken out fairly even, and then we will have there'll be 83 and 81 days. And our quarters are fairly even. Third and fourth quarter are a little off, but there was no better balance in ending third quarter, so we left that alone. So happy to answer any questions that you have about the changes in the calendar.
Yeah, I know that we're only looking at these specific changes at this point in time, but I guess potentially there could be other changes due to curriculum or health department concerns or different things like that we may have coming up in the future.
I'll speak to that. So yes, tonight all that we've recommended is what's in front of you right now, but we've received some questions about, say, fall break, for example. Some people concerned that maybe those ought to become school days or things like that. That is not part of our recommendation tonight. But as with everything about COVID, as the situation evolves, is it possible we could come back at some point in the year asking for some additional adjustment later on? That's certainly possible. I can't right now predict what any of those might be. But we know that if anything else about COVID, it has taught us to be flexible and make changes, as necessary as things change.
Okay, so what are the parameters? What does it look like for us to go from being fully in person to virtual? What kind of numbers, and is the health department giving us some guidance on that, or recommendations?
So regarding the calendar item that's in front of us, what I would say to that is I would have brought this recommendation forward even if we were to go virtual. I still feel that even in a virtual setting, this would have been time that is necessary. So that's the first part I would speak to on that. In terms of, I guess the way I would look at that question is overall, is there still a chance of the schedule changing as a result of guidance from the health department or things like that? Your question was, has the health department given us a recommendation? What they do, when we meet with the health department, they look through our data, they listen to our plans about reopening. They really help us vet both what we're seeing in the community as well as the plans we have in place to work with it. As far as an actual, they're not going to make a recommendation saying you should or shouldn't go to school. They're just going to help us look at all the information and make the appropriate decision. So that's the relationship with the health department, is that we meet frequently with them and we look at the impacts of what they present to us. So in terms of, there is no hard and fast rule that's been set by the health department about when any given decision should change. The truth about our calendar, and I sort of referenced this just a second ago, is the need to switch to virtual could happen at any point. So starting school in person, which is where we stand as of today, it could change. You hate to continue to tell people that something could change even before school starts, because at some point people need to feel firm about the calendar in front of them. But the other part is, even after school starts, we'll continue to monitor the situation, and that may have to do with numbers of cases in our schools. It may have to do with changing data points out in our community, and all of those different things. So the option to go to fully virtual will continue to be one that I keep on my mind as a recommendation that I may bring forward at any point.
So the county health department's not recommending virtual or in person. They're just giving us data and saying you choose.
So yes, the county health department recognizes that the ultimate decision is ours to make and want to equip us with the proper information to do that. And so they'll talk through it, they'll listen to our plans, and they'll ask questions about our plans, give us where they can support our plans and tell us where they can't. And so we often send them documents and ask them to vet what we've put in place, and they'll send them back with suggestions and some alterations. But have very clearly said they will support us going in person. And likewise, if at any point we decided to switch to virtual, I imagine once we shared our information with them, they would support that as well. But as far as making an actual recommendation, that's not where we are.
So I guess my concern with that is all of the surrounding counties have recommendations from their health department. To rely on you guys to have to make this decision, I think is not appropriate. I think that our county health department should recommend what is appropriate with the conditions that we currently have. I'm not a health expert. So I know we're only voting on whether or not to start a week late, and I am not opposed to starting a week late, but I am definitely opposed to starting in person.
Yes.
Thank you.
I disagree. So do I.
Lisa, my question for you, I think for you, is you're talking about teachers moving sections. I'm going to teach kindergarten, but you may have to move me to second grade.
Correct.
Or I'm in kindergarten, you're going to have me teach virtual because I volunteered to do it in class. When will those teachers be notified?
They're actually being notified right now, Patrick. So all of our elementary folks were able to, all of our elementary administrators were able to start talking and having communication with their staff yesterday and today. Middle school started a little bit yesterday, some today. High school is a little bit of a unique situation. The master schedule is very different. The course sections are very, very different. They were just finishing up a master schedule and making sure that a virtual master schedule would be able to fit with their building master schedules. So we anticipate those conversations starting early next week with staff.
Basically, the teachers will all find out soon. what they'll
Yes,
be-
if they haven't already, it'll be early next
What the expectations
week.
are.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
So one last thing. Could you possibly ask the health department to make a recommendation? Is that something you would need a motion from the board to do? I think that that's their job.
We can certainly ask them, we have asked them, and in what we have with them is conversations about all of the considerations, all of the plans. So it has been asked, we don't anticipate that that's a direction that they're going to go.
Any more questions, board? Discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Board, I will entertain a motion to enter into closed session to discuss personnel 610021 subsection 3 and subsection 13 revised statutes of Missouri.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Sorry, by roll call.
Mr. Lang?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.